Part 49. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 482. Chapter 482, Training Alone. Okay, hurry up, come here and have a rest, drink a glass of water, and eat some food later, then go back to the house and go to bed. You can get enough sleep this time. Seeing him getting up early and going to bed late every day made the old lady feel distressed. Okay, Xiao was very obedient and did whatever his wife arranged for him to do. The whole family was laughing and having dinner in a short time. Today's dinner was extremely early. But everyone enjoyed the meal very happily. Grandma He and Mei Shui even drank some wine together. You can imagine how happy they were. After dinner, Xiao went back to the house to sleep, while others were busy with their own affairs. Xiao Peng and Xiao Cheng are on summer vacation now, and they are thinking about where to go to enhance their abilities. What Xiao Peng wants to go most are those deep mountains, or places where he can get medical treatment. It's easy to deal with it in the deep mountains, but it's a bit difficult to treat people. Because of his age, no one can believe him, and no one will be his guinea pig. So he is now trying to think of a way to explain. Xiao Cheng is much simpler. He wants to go see Uncle Zhao, but he doesn't know if his parents are willing. It turns out that they didn't go last year. Compared with the thoughts of the two children, Mei Shui and Hians are much busier. In the room, Mei Shui, who was slightly drunk, was leaning on the lazy chair on the balcony. Looking at the people sitting quietly next to her, at this moment, her heart was filled with the sound of a family. Very satisfied. Of course, if he doesn't speak. Xiaoxiu, what are your plans in the future? Why do you keep asking her about her plans? Because in Hian's heart, nothing is more important than her. Mei Shui's originally smiling face turned serious after hearing Hian's words. Yes, of course, I am going to Kyoto. I want to make life difficult for those who have bullied us. She is more free now. She used to take care of too much. Hearing her words, Hians had a clear look on his face. Okay, I'll accompany you. The only thing he could do was stand by her side, shielding her from all wind and rain. Thank you. She didn't know what to say to him. This man gave up a lot for himself. If it weren't for himself this time, he wouldn't have given up his many years of business and returned to his hometown with himself. It's not a bad thing to go back to your hometown, but coming back so cowardly will make Nyang bear the name of treachery. Even if no one in the village knew about it, his family was still very sad, worried, and even more afraid. There is no need to be so polite between us. Hians patted the foot on his lap angrily. Since we plan to return to Kyoto, should we take action? Sometimes, people are scared when they stand at high places. Well, I have been prepared for a long time. This time I have practiced a few more things. I think I can stand at the top of Longguo Cosmetics in Yujiao this time. Mixu has always had ambitions, but she was delayed by eating and drinking in the last days. Over the years, she has eaten and drank, which gradually weakened her sense of urgency and calmed down her mood. With her ability to protect herself, her rampant temper gradually emerged. She has never been a submissive person, and she always responds when she is bullied. This incident actually made her feel aggrieved. If it made herself sad, why should she make others feel happy? She is such a narrow-minded person. The cosmetics made by my daughter-in-law are quite unique. She has practiced some more, so I think she is unstoppable. Can you tell me what it is? He was a little curious, mainly because the last time someone offered it was 10 million, which completely hit him. Whitening cream, acne removal cream, freckle removal cream, the most important thing is scar removal cream. These things are expensive but not marketable. She is very confident in what she has researched. I have tried some whitening cream before, but it is not as good as this time, but it is still enough for cosmetics. This time, her target is not those for the common people, but high-end products. Of course, It's not that she won't do civilian business, it's just that the effect will be worse and the time will take a little longer. Otherwise she would be at a great loss. She finally figured out that no one in this world owes anyone anything. If you want to get something in return, you have to pay. It's just an equivalent exchange. Unlike her previous life, there was no equivalent exchange, but only strength. Like whitening products for ordinary people, Yojiao Company's prices don't exceed 200. These things are also commonly used by everyone. The ones that are quieter and better are like the ones in the Kyoto store, 1000 or 2000 is normal. Now, those high-end goods she took out, haha, she didn't plan to let Wang Jiajia sell them if they were less than 10,000 yuan. Not to mention scar removal cream, there are 3 parts of this product, one is commonly used, and it will take about half a year to eliminate. Medium, about half a year. The most advanced one, it can remove scars no matter how deep they are within a month. Of course, the price ranges are also in 3 levels. Now that the economy is developing, people really don't lack this kind of money. The civilian price is set at around 4 to 500. Medium is set at around 2000. Higher, more than 10,000. It depends on how Wang Jiajia packages it. She has no intention of selling her things cheaply. Other products have the same positioning, but there are some changes in price. They are not as expensive as scar removal cream. After hearing what his wife said, Hians was dumbfounded. Can this be sold? He was a little worried and even more surprised. A woman is so rich. He. Of course it can be sold, and the price is still high. If you don't believe it, just wait. Mei Shui looked confident. If this is the case, then I will never be as good as you, my wife, in this life. You are destined to support the family in this life. Hians had given up on his plan to surpass his wife. Okay, just be responsible for your beauty. Your face is getting prettier now. Mei Shui rarely got up her temper and teased Hians. Hians was confused. Has he fallen to the point where he is as beautiful as a flower? But in this case, wife, you can't betray me. After speaking, he started to move his hands. The night was very long, and the two of them didn't waste any time. When it seemed that she couldn't bear it anymore, Hians pulled her into the space. There is enough time in space for him to waste. The next day, Xiao Chang and Xiao Peng expressed their thoughts. Mei Shui has no objection to this. Well, Xiao Peng, you take Dabai with you. I don't have any objection if you want to go to the mountains. Dabai can also find you some little white rabbits to toss around. Mei Shui agreed with Xiao Peng's idea. Grandma, he didn't agree very much. Xiao Peng was only 13 years old and still a child. Of course, ignore his size. Xiao Cheng is even simpler. He just packs it up and sends it to brother Zhao. This is very simple. However, I would like to express a moment of silence for the Northwest Military Region. Xiao Cheng's current ability is no worse than that of the king of soldiers in the army. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 483. Chapter 483, Xiao Goes Abroad. Xiao didn't have that many ideas at all. He was about to go to college. All he wanted to think about was which school he wanted to go to. He originally wanted to study medicine and thought it would be fun. But the second brother has chosen medicine now, and he is definitely not good at it. Xiao Chang, forget it, don't talk to him about this. With so many properties in his parents' hands, and his father intending for him to go into business, he felt it was time for him to think about it. They still have to wait here for Xiao's notice to arrive. Xiao Cheng and Xiao Peng can leave first when they arrive. Grandma, he was very reluctant and scolded Xiaoxiu and Ans for being heartless. She was actually willing to let her children suffer so much. It is said that we are close to each other, but this is too close. Even Mei Shui was scolded by her grandma. However, the two of them were sent away in the end. Mingcheng is also called Mountain City. It is surrounded by deep mountains. At night, without disturbing grandma, Mei Shui and Hian sent Xiaopeng and Dabai away. The next day when Xiao Cheng was there, Hians personally made a train to send people to brother Zhao. Yu Kaiji was very happy when he received the call. He wanted to ask Xiao Cheng before he came last year, but his grandfather stopped him. This year people finally came, and he should make plans. Hence, a sneak attack battle in the northwest military region began at this time. Xiao Cheng didn't know that he was of such great use, but he wasn't afraid. It took 3 days for Hians to deliver the person. As soon as he received the person, Zhao Kaiji drove away with Xiao Cheng without even leaving Hians behind. The orderly who followed was confused. The brigade commander must have been too ruthless. He looked at the people standing next to him with an embarrassed look, but he knew that half of the people who were acquainted with him and retired had gone to this person's company. Therefore, Xiao Cheng can be said to be walking sideways in their military area. Of course, the child is also very sensible. Never do anything to hurt the face of your parents and brigade commander. "Hello, boss," the orderly called out with an embarrassed look on his face. Hians looked back at him and shook his head. Soldiers are serious and show everything on their faces. "It's okay. You go ahead and do your work. I'll leave right away, there are things at home, and he can't afford to delay." "How about I take you to the car?" the orderly asked uneasily. "No, please go back quickly. It's not my first time here. The train will leave soon and I have to buy a ticket." After saying that, he patted the orderly, then turned and left. What else could the orderly say? He had to watch them leave, and then he returned to the army. Just when Hians returned, Xiao received their notice. Of course, his wish has been filled in long ago. There are 2 admission notices in total. One is from Kyoto University and one is from abroad. Mei Shui felt very pleased when she looked at Xiao, who was taller than herself. "Xiao, you are an adult, you can make your own decisions, you can't let your parents decide everything. He should also be able to take charge of these matters himself." "Mom, I want to go abroad." Xiao had already thought about it when he filled out his application form. Grandma, he became anxious when she heard this. "Xiao, why are you thinking about going abroad? What will your wife do if you leave?" As she said this, Grandma, he started to cry. Xiao felt very sad when he saw his wife crying. He looked at his mother helplessly. If possible, he would not leave his family, but he had a reason to leave. He was still very soft-hearted towards this wife who really loved him. "Madam, don't cry. It's not like I won't come back after I go abroad." Xiao began to comfort his wife, while Mei Shui looked on and helped him silently. At this age, the old lady is not willing to let her children and grandchildren go out. Every word of reluctance expresses her reluctance. Finally, the old lady got tired of crying and fell asleep in Xiao's arms. Now the house became quiet. "Mom, you are too unreasonable." Xiao looked aggrieved, and his mother didn't know what to say in her favor. Mei Shui spread her hands. "It's useless if I say anything. Didn't you see it yesterday? Your wife even scolded me. When I opened my mouth, didn't I just ask for scolding? She was not stupid." "Then you don't care?" Xiao was about to cry. "I can't control it, your wife is the boss at home." With Xiao's hand, Mei Shui picked up the old lady and took her to her room. Xiao was still sitting on the sofa when he came out. There were 3 fewer people in the house, and it was very empty and quiet. "What? Are you still thinking about what your wife said?" Seeing Xiao motionless, Mei Shui stepped forward and asked. Xiao nodded. "Mom, shouldn't I go abroad?" His will was a little unsteady at this time. "It's nothing, your wife is just too emotional, just wait until you get used to it." Mei Shui understood the old lady's thoughts. For so many years, Their family has always been together, and it was not the same when it was just the two of them. At that time, Ans was not with them all the time like he is now. But my wife will be sad. Xiao didn't want to leave his wife sad. There's nothing we can do about it, you will grow up eventually, and we parents can't keep you tied to us forever. Mei Shui is looking away now. You will still have girlfriends, get married, and have children in the future. If you can't accept it now, what will you do in the future? Mei Shui said with a smile. Then I won't get married. I will always be with you. Now it's not that his wife can't leave him, but that he can't bear to leave his relatives. What are you talking about? If your wife hears this, she will be the first to slap you. Grandma felt that it was a big deal for her children to get married and have children. Can't delay. I believe it. Xiao shook his head and said. He was whipped a lot when he was a child. I'm afraid only he and Uncle Anliang have the best experience of that feeling. It is true that he was adopted, but his wife also treated him as one of her own. Not to mention beating him, scolding him was also common. Others might have a few quarrels, but he felt that his wife only kissed him like this. Think about how embarrassed he would be if his wife beat and scolded Xiaopeng and the others, but she was always polite to him. Then let's get married. Get ready. When your father comes back, we will accompany you to study abroad. They were not at ease just letting him go alone. No need, Xiao said with a happy expression on his face, but his words were very dishonest. Small, if that's the case, then we'll take you to the airport. I can't cure you. Yes, Xiao lost. When Hians came back, 3 days had passed since Xiao got the notice. Don't mention it, the school is moving really fast. As soon as Hians got home, he heard the news that his eldest son was also leaving them, and he suddenly felt lost. It is true that Xiao is his adopted son, but after so many years, he has long regarded him as his own, and treats him the same as Xiaopeng and the others. But he couldn't accept the 3 children leaving at once. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 484. Chapter 484, Meeting an Old Friend from Another Country. When are you leaving? As expected, parents are very restrained in their emotions. Xiao felt uncomfortable when he saw his father's eyes were red, and once again wanted to say that he wouldn't go. Ken. Let's go there before school starts if you can, put it off as long as you can. He has not said goodbye to his brothers yet. No, let's go there early, first look at the school, and then look at the environment in the school. If it's good, Mom will buy you a house by then. There's still not enough time, so let's go early. Mei Shui saw what they were thinking and immediately answered. Of course, if they go abroad, the old lady will definitely not be able to take them with them. Not to mention her age, I am afraid that she will not adapt to the environment there and will be busy with Xiao's affairs. I am afraid that she will not be beautiful if she hides her physical condition for Xiao. Hearing what his mother said, Xiao felt aggrieved. Does his mother really want him to leave quickly? Looking at Xiao's resentful eyes, Mei Shui became furious and slapped her in the face. You brat, don't be so good at taking advantage of others. Well, any parting mood was shaken away by the slap. Mom, could you be gentler? She turned red. How can a grown man be afraid of such pain? Mei Shui rolled her eyes at him angrily. Looking at her grandma, who had been sitting quietly aside, Mei Shui sighed. Grandma, how about you go back to the village to live for a while, and then come over to pick you up when I come back and go to Kyoto with me. Originally, we were planning to go back to Kyoto together, but due to an unexpected incident like Xiao's, we couldn't go for a while. I'm fine. I'll ask Xiaokai to take me back to the village tomorrow, and you guys should do Xiao's business first. Also, remember to give me enough money. Don't let my great-grandson go to waste when you go out. The old lady's eyes were full of reluctance. Okay, I won't do anything wrong to your great-grandson. Hans and Mei Shui nodded in agreement. They had no intention of losing money to the children. It's not like my family doesn't have this condition. After the matter was settled, Fang Kai came to pick her up the next day. Looking at Grandma's leaving figure, Mei Shui felt as uncomfortable as a horse. "Ans, let's separate from Grandma in the future," Mei Shui said with red eyes. Hans also felt uncomfortable in his heart. "Okay, we won't separate anymore. Now that he and Xiaoxiu have the ability to protect themselves, it is not a big deal to save their own family." Xiao cried, crying very sadly. He was afraid of worrying his wife, so he kept silent. When his wife left, he didn't dare to say a word. "I'm afraid that I won't be able to help crying." Now that his wife is gone, he can no longer bear the sadness of separation. Weeping loudly, Mei Shui and Hans did not step forward to comfort him. He needed to vent. "Everything is ready, now all we need is the east wind. Go to the bank to change money first, into US dollars. The school is in country M. They have to prepare more money for Xiao. Money is indispensable when going out." Mei Shui didn't exchange much, so she exchanged it for hundreds of thousands, and she would give it to him later. Xiao doesn't have high requirements for money, just enough. Plus his uncle usually gives him some money, so he really has no shortage of money to spend. However, he did not refuse what his parents gave him. In my mother's words, these are their love for him. The plane to the United States departs on time at 8:30 in the morning. This sitting lasted for more than 10 hours, and even Mei Shui and Hans felt very uncomfortable sitting there. If there is nothing else, there is really no need to think about going abroad. As he moves further and further away from his country, Xiao feels increasingly uncomfortable about not being separated from his parents. How could he not be sad that he might not be able to see his family for several years? The plane landed, and they finally set foot on the land of country M. To be honest, they were a little uncomfortable. Mei Shui really can't speak English, and neither can Hans. In the end, Xiao can only rely on himself. Along the way, he was the one who asked for directions and drove to school. Looking at their son who looked like an adult, the two of them felt very proud. When they arrived at the school, Xiao explained his situation, and the school let them in after reading the notice in his hand. "Go to the teacher first. At the school here, there are people on duty here every day. When you find the person, you will ask about the situation." After visiting the dormitory, Xiao thought it was okay, but Mei Shui and Hans disagreed. "The environment here is not good. Living with 6 people together is very inconvenient for both study and life." Xiao had no choice but to ask the teacher again, "Is it okay if they don't believe in Su?" The teacher said yes, but a certificate is required. "Or get a homestay certificate." In this regard, Mei Shui said nothing and bought a house for Xiao directly opposite the school, but the house price was a bit high. With the addition of Wang Lianjai, Mei Shui was really hollowed out this time. Fortunately, it took half a month to get the real estate certificate, and Xiao also had his own small home in country M. He understands what his parents are thinking, and in order not to let them down, he plans to spend the shortest possible time going back to be with them. This time they went abroad, they really didn't do anything to help Xiao, they just provided money. Other things were done by Xiao himself. After seeing that Xiao has settled down, Mei Shui and Hans also plan to return to China. "When I went back, I took Xiao shopping for 2 days and helped him buy a lot of things. Electronic products and everything are available, let alone daily wear. They also bought gifts for grandma and some other close people, including Xiaopeng and others." After Xiao sent his parents on the plane, he met someone at the aircraft factory. "A woman. Why are you here, The two hadn't seen each other for several years, but they recognized each other at a glance. "Are you coming to study abroad too?" Xiao was quite surprised to see her. After looking at the gift box in her hand, Xiao took it naturally. "Yeah, I'm in XX school, and I don't know what the environment is like," Hua said with a confused look. "That's right, this woman is none other than the wife that the old lady has chosen for him, Hua." What a pity. What Xiao didn't know was that the old lady had forgotten about this a long time ago, and she had forgotten to ask Xiaoxiu to tell the other party's family all these years. "The environment is average, you should go and take a look first." Xiao would have a cold face towards everyone, and only people who are familiar with him would have more expressions. "Of course, it's different in front of my own family. If you're not used to it, we'll talk about it later," Xiao said naturally. Hua was dumbfounded. She didn't want her family to accompany her to school this time, so she ran away secretly. "Unexpectedly, I met the eldest brother of classmate Nian Chen here. Are you from this school too?" It took him a long time to react. Xiao smiled. "I just realized it." Why did he think this wife was a bit stupid? "It's just silly and cute. You're not afraid that I'll sell you?" The two of them walked to school talking and laughing. What kind of sparks will there be between the two of them depends on Xiao's ability. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 485. Chapter 485, I wish everyone a happy New Year's Eve. After more than 10 hours of flying, Mei Shui and Hians finally landed in Mingcheng. As soon as they left the airport, the two went to the parking lot, where their car was still here. "I happened to drive back to the village and tell Grandma the news about Xiao as soon as possible. Because they told Xiaopeng and others when they left that they would go directly back to their home in Kyoto. There are still some days before school starts, so I am not afraid that they will arrive before me." After returning to the village, the two of them were as tired as dogs. Xiaohe was brought back to the village by his grandma because Xiao was going abroad and could not be taken away. As soon as their breath fell to the ground, Xiaohe screamed in the middle of the mountain. The real howl of a wolf. But everyone in the village is used to it. Why? Because everyone knows that Xiao, the dog, is a cross between a real dog and a wolf. The blood couldn't be more pure. There is nothing to be afraid of when a wolf howls, as long as it doesn't eat people like a wolf. Fortunately, Xiaohe was very kind and did not touch the livestock in the village, otherwise it would definitely cause panic. Hearing Xiaohe's cry, Mei Shui smiled helplessly. "Yes, a little spy." At this point, the sun was still high in the sky, so of course their return would be known to the villagers. "Xiaohe is a good dog. I must know that you are back." People resting on the flat ground of the creek laughed and joked. "That's not true. Xiaohe is a dog that cares about the village." So, Xiaohe's story begins. Meixiu didn't want to hear this. She wanted to see her grandma immediately. "Don't worry, your grandma is playing cards inside." A person who knew grandma, he came over with a bamboo hat and said with a smile. "Auntie," Mei Shui called out when she saw the person coming. "Okay, I'll call your grandma." In the first few days after I came back, she ran out to see the car. When she heard the car, she was very disappointed when she didn't see you. This aunt told interesting things about Grandma He in a funny way. But when Mei Shui heard these words, they felt uncomfortable in their hearts. Soon Grandma He ran out. When she saw Mei Shui and the others, she glanced behind them. She was a little disappointed when she saw no one behind them. "I'm back, it's good to be back." She was worried about going abroad so far. Grandma, the two of them also missed their grandma. "Okay, just come back, come on, let's go home." When her grandchildren came back, she threw aside her favorite mahjong. Xiaohe also ran over at this time, wandering around Mei Shui's and others' feet, and also ran a few steps towards them. After seeing no familiar person, it felt disappointed and whined twice. Looking at it like this, the three of them felt a little sad. After returning home, the first thing Grandma asked about Xiao was. Mei Shui and Hians did not dare to hide it from her and told her the moment they arrived in country M. Nothing fell. After hearing this, Grandma he felt a lot more relieved. Now that Xiao has settled down, she can't let him come back now no matter how much she misses her. She can only wait for him to succeed in his studies. After resting in the village for another 2 days, Hians took his family and left the village again. He also took Aunt Zhengting and Aunt Milian with him when he left this time. Aunt Zillian also wanted to go to Kyoto, but there were too many things at home, and she couldn't help but regret that she had raised so many livestock. She could only watch them leave with an envious look on her face, and complained with some regrets. She would not raise them in the second half of the year and planned to enjoy the blessings. This matter has the support of everyone. To be honest, these families really don't lack the money now, but they just see that their parents want to do something. There are many people who think this way. The car was driving slowly on the road. 2 people joined them along the way, and there was also laughter in the car. Even my grandma, who usually dislikes getting dizzy while driving, no longer felt uncomfortable during the journey. It's been a week since I returned to Kyoto. They walked and played along the way, which made Aunt Milian and Aunt Zhengting very happy. However, Aunt Zhengting is the most haggard among all the people because of her bad waist. Anshin felt very distressed when he saw his mother's face when he came to pick her up. "Mom, you should live in Kyoto from now on." Dad also asked him to come here. It happened that when Li was pregnant again and had no time to take care of Xiaoli, his wife had only been diagnosed a few days ago and had never told her family because she was afraid of him. Mom is worried. The Zhang family can help look after Xiaolei, but after all, the father-in-law and the others have jobs and cannot take care of the child all the time. Wenli's reaction has been very big these days. Anshin has to be busy with things in the factory every day, and the house is almost in chaos. Fortunately, his mother is here. As soon as she heard that her daughter-in-law was pregnant again, Aunt Zhengting was so excited that the haggard look on her face was immediately replaced by joy. "When Li is pregnant, haha, okay, I have to give birth to a granddaughter this time. Mom won't leave." Not this time. She also knew that Anshin was busy and didn't have much time to take care of her. Home. Fortunately, Wen Li is a big-hearted person, otherwise the family would have been so noisy. "Then it's settled, Mom, don't go back on your word." Anshin smiled like a child when he heard his mother agreed. He is also in his late 30s, and after working in the factory for so many years, he already has an indescribable aura of a superior person. Now seeing his childish look, everyone feels very close to him. I won't come back, but you have to call your dad and ask him to make some arrangements at home and then come over." She was not at ease leaving him alone in the village. "Okay, I'll call my dad in a minute," Anshin agreed quickly. Seeing their mother and son being happy there, Grandma he clapped her hands and said, "Since the Zhengting family plans to come to Kyoto, the house in Anshan and the others will definitely not be suitable for them. It seems that you have to buy a new house." Grandma he joked. Because they are from the countryside, they are all happy and lively, and the adults must live together when they come. So the house Anshan and the others live in now is not suitable. Aunt Zhengting shook her head and said, "I do want to buy a house, but it would be inconvenient not to live with them." She also went from being a daughter-in-law to a mother-in-law, so of course she understood her daughter-in-law's mentality. "Zhengting and I will buy a small apartment not far from them, just big enough for the 2 of us." Now that she has the conditions, she doesn't want to live with her daughter-in-law. It is not only the daughter-in-law who is inconvenienced, but also them. Hearing this, Grandma he laughed, "I was just about to tell you about this. In that case, why don't you buy it from us? Although the house is a bit shabby, it is not as new as the current building, but it can't stand up to it. Dear neighbors." The old lady started to cheat here. Anshan's face turned bitter after hearing this. Third grandma, you don't even think about how expensive your courtyard is. His family is poor. He Ans, Mei Shui and others saw Anshan's suffering, and they all secretly enjoyed it. It's not that Anshan doesn't have money, it's just that he saves more. Of course, compared to An and the others, he will have more money in his hands. New Year's Eve is here. I wish everyone good health and everything goes well. Please vote. Don't forget to vote during the Chinese New Year. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 486. Chapter 486, Worm Valley. He and Wen Li are not the kind of people who waste money. They only have one child, so they really don't have much to spend money on. The Yu family also subsidizes them on weekdays. And Liang also earned a lot, but he was so ambitious that he invested everything he earned in business. In terms of cash, he will definitely not be able to compare with Anshan, but compared to those industries, Anshan really cannot compare with others. He has a straight mind. The only one who is serious is Aunt Zhangting. She is interested. Third aunt, show me if there are any yard sales around here. They came to the He family compound as soon as they came back today. She doesn't want a yard as big as her third aunt's, one that she can think of as soon as she enters. It's almost like living in a village. That's okay grandma, he agreed. Seeing her like this, Aunt Milian quit. Third aunt, you can't be partial. There are also our family and sister Zillian's house. When she heard that third aunt could help find a yard, Aunt Milian wouldn't let her go. Such a great opportunity. Of course, she was the one who brought sister-in-law to be the behead. Grandma, he said with a pleased face, yes, I have them all. Mixu was anxious. Grandma, are there any yard sales here? Even though she hadn't been back to Kyoto for almost a year, she also knew that yards here were not so easy to buy. Seeing that Xiaoxiu was anxious, Grandma he took action and said, don't worry, you don't know about this, but I don't. The surrounding area seems to have been sold. I heard that some residential area is going to be built, but are you afraid that you won't have a house to buy? Well, Grandma, he has a lot of eyeliner. However, Mei Shui was curious, how do you know this? Grandma, he smiled and raised her head slightly, this is what my good friend told me. Her home was also demolished. Well, the old lady wanted to show off to her at that time. Call her directly. Hearing this, everyone laughed. Grandma, third aunt, leather. Mei Shui and Hians really didn't notice this when they got home. With this foundation, the children in every family became excited. The housing prices here will not be low by then, but they will still be able to afford it. They all looked at each other, and after confirming their eyes, they were happy. Of course, even bigger surprises are waiting for them later. After An Liang and Shan and others took their mother back, the house suddenly became quiet. The old lady was also tired and went back to the house to rest. He Ans and Mei Shui sat in the backyard pavilion after sending Grandma back to the house. Enjoy the coolness. Tell me, how are Xiaopeng and the others doing? Mei Shui, a mother, finally remembered her two sons. Xiaocheng should be fine, but Xiaopeng is not sure, and I don't know if he is injured. How can a parent not worry about his child? Let's talk about Xiaopeng. After he left home with Dabai, he went directly into the mountains. Where were he going? He hasn't thought about it yet, no matter where he goes. There is enough stuff to carry, a big backpack. If I hadn't known that he was out for training, I would have thought he was here for a spring outing. That bag was bigger than the others, and in the end the backpack was folded and hunched over. Once you enter the deep mountains, it is as deep as the sea. Xiaopeng didn't know where he was going. Anyway, he had been looking for some herbs along the way. He even brought out the complete collection of herbal medicines and looked for them all. Of course, not all herbs are available. Like some flowers that bloom in winter and wither in summer, they are destined not to be seen. He mainly wanted to see if he could find some legendary herbs. The child's mind was so simple. He thought he might be able to find it in the deep mountains. It was Dabai who followed Xiaopeng east and west after suffering a lot. I don't know how much time passed, but Xiaopeng stopped in a deep mountain valley. There are a lot of snakes, insects, rats, and ants here, and they can be seen everywhere. Dabai, do you think we have arrived at the Bug Valley? Xiaopeng was almost annoyed to death by this. Dabai whined twice, which was regarded as an answer to Xiaopeng. Unfortunately, Xiaopeng couldn't understand what it was saying. Looking at the insects getting closer and closer to him, Xiaopeng became more and more anxious. He really doesn't like these little things. Everyone was snarling at him, and the powder in their hands was almost used up, so Xiaopeng had to worry. Dabai is also a little annoyed by these bugs, and he has no way to deal with them. Dabai, why don't we run out? Xiaopeng was anxious. Dabai looked around in a very humane manner and thought he was running away. There is a way for them to leave. Xiaopeng almost cried. At this time, he really missed his parents. If he was bitten by bugs and died here, I don't know if his parents would be able to find him. Took out the mobile phone. Okay, there is no signal at all. Dabai, it was me who harmed you. Xiaopeng filled his eyes with medicine. These things are poisonous. They couldn't run away, and the medicine on their hands was also used up. Now they could only wait to die. Dabai rubbed his head against Xiaopeng and let out a purr. Took his clothes and asked him to get on his back. At this time, Dabai risked his own life and just wanted to take him out of the deep valley. How could Xiaopeng, who had been with Dabai for so long, not know what it meant? No, Dabai can't do that. How could he bear to let Dabai die on his behalf? Had he not insisted on running over, this wouldn't have happened. Just as they were coming down, Dabai bid him, but how could he give up after seeing this spring-like valley all year round? There must be a lot of medicinal materials here, but there are a lot of medicinal materials, but they are also surrounded by poisonous insects, snakes, and ants living here. There were many animal bones not far away from them. At this time, Xiaopeng was also scared and anxious. Dabai looked at the places where they had spread insect powder slowly. More and more insects were coming over. If they didn't run away, they would be in a hurry. Bite hard, it hurt Xiaopeng directly, causing Xiaopeng, who was unprepared, to tilt down. Dabai got short and carried Xiaopeng on his back. He quickened his pace and ran out. No matter how much he practices, Dabai can only activate his spiritual intelligence and has no defensive ability at all. It only has its own defense. How can it guard against these poisonous insects? There are more and more poisonous insects on the feet, but they have not escaped from the valley yet. Dabai's eyes began to blur. But it gritted its teeth and persisted. It must send Xiaopeng out. Xiaopeng is such a sensitive child. He sees all Dabai's movements. No matter how strong the shell is, it will always lose control when it is forged at the cost of life, like now. Xiaopeng hugged Dabai tightly. He knew that he could no longer drag Dabai down at this time. Xiaopeng couldn't bear it anymore and cried. Crying loudly. Dabai, you must be okay, you must be okay, he cried and shouted, the sound of wind pouring straight from his mouth. It was as if Xiaopeng couldn't feel the devastation of the wind. Happy New Year, I wish you all may your wishes come true and good health in the new year. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 487. Chapter 487, Rescued. Happy New Year to everyone. Of course Dabai heard Xiaopeng's cry. It didn't dare to stop for a moment, and roared while running. I don't know if it's calling me, or pitying myself. 10 minutes later, they finally approached the edge of the valley. At this time, when they were not paying attention, a small human head emerged from the grass. The little girl almost cried in fear when she saw a white wolf that was taller than herself. But when she saw the black shadows behind them, she ignored her fear and immediately took out an unknown bone whistle she was wearing around her neck. Put it to her mouth, and a whining sound came from her mouth. Dabai has long lost consciousness and is running based on his thoughts. Xiaopeng buried her head in Dabai's fluffy hair. He felt that Dabai was still running, and it didn't stop. After the little girl's whistle sounded, the poisonous insects, snakes, and ants behind Dabai stopped. Every one of them seemed unwilling to give in, staring straight at the little girl not far away. After seeing her raise the bone whistle in her hand, they were unwilling to leave. Looking at the white wolf running away, the little girl was very interested. I followed immediately, and after walking a short distance, she found that the big white wolf fell to the ground, and there was a person underneath it. A little brother. The little girl was bold and not afraid, so she walked over immediately. Looking at the people who fell together, the little girl frowned. How do you bring this back? She just came here to play today. She didn't expect to see the turmoil in the Worm Valley, so she came over to take a look. I didn't expect that a little brother and the white wolf would break into the Worm Valley. They are really brave. Insect Valley is an existence that can destroy everything. If it weren't for... The little girl turned around and left without saying a word. Shortly after she left, a group of people came over. The person taking the lead was the little girl who left. Xiaoyu, why did you come to Bug Valley? Don't you know it's dangerous here? An old man following the little girl muttered with an unhappy look on his face. Xiaoyu knew that she was wrong and did not dare to talk back. She led them obediently towards the white wolf and the little brother. Mrs. Zhong, look, it's them. They ran out of the Worm Valley. Xiaoyu pointed to the wolves lying on the ground in front of them and said. The name of Mrs. Zhong in Xiaoyu's mouth is Kongjin, which is his seniority and his surname. Kongjin stepped forward and took a look, knowing what was going on with them. A few people will come and carry the man and the wolf back first. The injury was quite serious. The white wolf could be said to have been poisoned into the heart and lungs, but for some reason, it was able to breathe. I think it will get better after detoxifying it. On the other hand, it was the little guy who was seriously injured. He was crushed by the white wolf and suffered many fractures on his body. The most serious thing was that his ribs were inserted into his lungs. This is the most important part. The people in their village all have some medical skills, and they can tell at a glance what is happening between a person and a wolf on the ground. Gently separate the man from the wolf, and then lift them up. Okay, go back to the village quickly, and the village chief will treat him, otherwise he won't survive tonight, Kongjin said to everyone. Okay. The news that a group of people brought back a wolf and a man from outside the village quickly spread in the village. Their village is isolated from the world, and few outsiders come in. The world is turbulent, and the people in their village are not out of the world. Being quiet and self-sufficient in the village. It saves a lot of trouble. At least no outsiders have come in for decades. Everyone in their village is very curious. They all crowded into the village chief's house. The village chief is the highest ranking person in the village. His surname is Ji, and he is also of the same generation. The seniority in this village is also simple: Yi, Ji, Zhong, Lu, Ji, Yu, Wu, Xiu, Wen, Zhang. The only living member of the Ji family in the village is now the village chief. Village chief, this little baby is so pretty. The village chief's home is at the highest point in their village. The people who were close came a lot, and when they saw the people placed on the ground, they all said very excitedly. The village chief is the eldest in the village, but he looks like he is only 40 or 50 years old. Other than his gray hair, There is no trace of him being the oldest person in the village. It looks good, but what does it have to do with you? The village chief is an interesting person. After glaring at the meddlesome woman, he immediately started to treat the little guy's wounds. White wolf's poison is easy to cure, and everyone in their village can cure it, but it's just more severe. This is a bit difficult for the little guy. Looking at the villagers stripping people naked quickly, each one had green eyes like a wolf. What I have to say is that all the women are married and have children. I don't know if I'm looking at it for my own children, or if I'm looking at it for myself. The village chief couldn't stand their shamelessness and started to drive people away. Let's all go, everyone is shameless, my little baby is still a baby. The village chief closed the door to his courtyard. Just isolate everyone's sight outside the hospital. The courtyard left a lot of money and Xiaoyu's family. Xiaoyu's parents were mainly worried about their children, so they stayed and watched. After taking the medicine, the village chief asked them to take the child into the house. Xiaoyu, come and tell Mrs. whether you have fallen in love with this little guy, said the village chief Genpi. Xiaoyu is a 10-year-old girl and knows how to be shy. When she heard Mrs. say this, she immediately blushed and said, Mrs. She even twisted herself. Looking at her twisted appearance, everyone laughed. Haha, it's okay, the kid's injuries are not serious and he will wake up later. The village chief stopped making fun of Xiaoyu. However, he was very happy about the affairs of outsiders in the village. At least he could know some things about the world outside the village. They are a branch of the Miao ethnic group. Coming here is a coincidence, but it is also suitable for them to live here. So their ancestors chose to settle here. I haven't forgotten my skills, but there are only two kinds of things that have been passed down. One is medicine, the other is poison. The most famous cup of the Miao people has not been passed down to this branch. If you pick a random person from the village, he will be a master in modern medicine. Of course, what they studied was traditional Chinese medicine, not modern medicine. Seeing that the village chief became serious, Kongjin also put away the smile on his face. Is the village chief planning to let the villagers join the world? He guessed. The village chief shook his head and then nodded. Let's talk about this matter and see what news this boy can bring. Judging from his clothes, the conditions at home are not bad. But I don't know why he appeared in this deep mountain. When G2 and Yumu heard this, they knew the village chief's plan. However, G2 was not very curious about the outside world. However, Yumu was very curious. After all, he was still young, and he still wanted to have more contact with the outside world. Yuemu is Yuejin's elder brother. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 488. Chapter 488, The Village Chief's Plan. Yujin means Xiao Yu. In their generation, Yu is the surname, so Yu is the surname. Their names are also simple: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. It doesn't matter how you arrange it, it's up to you. As long as the seniority is not chaotic, it will be fine. Dad, can I go out of the village to have a look? Yuemu asked excitedly. G2 was a simple and honest farm boy. He had no interest in medicine, so he studied poisoning. Insect Valley was his favorite place, but because he was not good at learning, he made a whistle for his children. Yes, but you have to listen to the village chief's arrangement. He believed in the village chief's decision. Hearing the conversation between the father and son, the village chief shook his head and smiled. I'm afraid you are not the only one who has such thoughts. Fortunately, the people in their village are not bad in character. They are from the same origin, so it would be nice to go out together as they take care of each other. No matter what plan they have to wait until the kid in front of them wakes up and asks about the situation outside before they can take any action. It is true that he is the village chief, but he does not intend to let the younger generation stay in the village. They don't have much inheritance, and the rules have been weakened a lot over the years, and they are not so strict. The sun slowly sets outside, and Xiaopeng in the room slowly opens his eyes. The first thing he did was look for Dabai. Fortunately, when he opened his eyes, he saw Dabai sleeping not far from him. Dabai Xiaopeng's whole body was in unbearable pain, but he still struggled to get up, moved to Dabai's side, and pushed it twice with his hands. Before he could make any next move, a voice said, "Young man, you're awake. You'd better not touch it now. It's very poisonous." The person who came in was none other than the village chief Jimua. Seeing a grey old man appear in front of him, Xiaopeng immediately became defensive. Seeing him like this, the village chief smiled and said, "Don't be nervous. You entered the Worm Valley by mistake. Xiaoyu rescued you. Don't be afraid." In front of him, Xiaopeng was still a child on the bed. Hearing that they had saved him, Xiaopeng moved his body. Unfortunately, he overestimated himself and was injured. There was a hiss, and the pain all over his body seemed to come all at once, making him sweat profusely from the pain. Thank you, but I still insisted on saying thank you." "No need to thank you, the injury hasn't healed yet. You need to rest for a month or two to recover from your injury." Seeing that he was in severe pain, the village chief stepped forward to help him and let him lie down. "Don't worry about this white wolf. It has no external injuries except for being poisoned. When it comes to you, it will crush you. This is the first time I have seen this white wolf in my life. It is taller than a big tiger, which is really rare to see." After hearing that Dabai was fine, Xiaopeng breathed a sigh of relief. It's good that Dabai was fine. "Thank you, old man. I wonder where we are now," Xiaopeng said with a confused look. "Haha, we are a small village. We are isolated from the rest of the world. It is fate that you are here. Recuperate first and wait until you are well." The village chief stepped forward and felt his pulse, and he understood. "I just didn't expect this child's recovery ability to be so strong. The external injury is nothing, but the internal injury is a bit serious. You are hungry? I will bring you some porridge." The injury was so serious that he could only eat light food. Trouble the old man. Xiaopeng can't move now, so he can only trouble him. However, he will repay the favor of saving his life. "My mother has said since I was a child that money and debts are easy to repay, but it is difficult to owe favors." What he didn't want to owe was favors from others, but now, he owed Dafa. So Xiaopeng and Dabai were recuperating in the village, and he also met his savior the next day. She is a little girl, she looks not even older than him. I really don't know how she saved them. However, Xiaopeng was very interested in what they said about the Bug Valley, but the people in the village were a little shy about it, mainly because it was too dangerous there. Dabai was almost recovered after lying down for 3 days. When it came to Xiaopeng, he not only drank the village chief's medicine, but also took the pills his mother prepared for him. The injuries are getting better, but the internal injuries are serious and need to be nursed back to health. Over these days, he slowly became friends with Xiaoyu and learned about the situation in this village. In addition to brother Xiaoyu coming to him from time to time to ask about outside matters, the village chief would also ask him about some situations. Xiaopeng is not stupid and knows their thoughts from their questions. He also told them about the situation outside. Compared with the village, he felt that life outside would be better. After all, there is no electricity in this village, which is very inconvenient. I have to say that the mobile phone is a useless thing here. Apart from being used to tell the time, it has no use at all. Uemu was very surprised by what was in Xiaopeng's backpack. This training lasted for a month. Xiaopeng was a little anxious. He made an appointment with his parents to go home. If he couldn't make it back, his parents and wife would definitely be anxious. As soon as his injuries healed, Xiaopeng proposed to leave the village. The village chief did not try to persuade him to stay, but he still made his request and wanted him to take a few young men from the village with him when he left. Of course Xiaopeng has no objection. He plans to bring his parents with him next time to thank the villagers for their life-saving help. There is Yumu in the group, and little Yumu can hang an oil bottle on his mouth. Brother Xiaopeng, do you really want to leave? Xiaoyu felt very reluctant to let go of this little brother after having been together for so long. Xiaopeng looked at the little girl sitting next to him, feeling very soft in his heart. Don't worry, I'll come to see you when I'm on vacation. Can I bring you some delicious food then? Xiaoyu is a generous and cheerful girl, different from Xiao Fufu. Xiaopeng prefers to get along with people with this kind of temperament. Really, Xiaoyu didn't know when he would take vacation, but she was still very happy when she heard that brother Xiaopeng said he would come to see her. Of course, I'm not lying. Even if his parents are not free, he will come over himself. Xiaoyu was finally coaxed by Xiaopeng, and the parting mood made her unhappy for several days. However, Xiaopeng also knows something about this village. None of them here have money, but they all have the ability to support their families. Of course, this ability is to support the family to the outside world, but in the village, it is just daily life. Everyone has good medical skills and the ability to identify medicines. This aspect, if put in Grandpa Zhao's company, they can make a lot of money every month. Xiaopeng is a child after all, he just sees things more simply. After people have settled down, they prepare to leave the village. The old road out of the village is still there, but no one takes it, so the road is covered with weeds. There were almost 10 people walking, and they were all between 17 or 18 to 25 years old. They are all young people in the village. At the entrance of the village, these people who had left home for the first time were excited and reluctant to leave, but the temptation of the world affairs outside was still great for them. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 489. Chapter 489, Leaving. No amount of reluctance can keep them from leaving the village. Xiaoyu, be good, wait until I come back to see you. Seeing Xiaoyu's eyes turning red from crying, Xiaopeng coaxed patiently. Xiaoyu nodded her head, crying so hard that she couldn't breathe and couldn't speak coherently. Ji's father and mother looked at their son who was leaving and their daughter who was crying in their arms. Their eyes were also dyed red. Ji's father stepped forward and hugged his daughter, looking at Xiaopeng with a begging look on his face. He's Xiaozi, Xiaoyu and his brother asked you to beg him before. How can parents not worry when they are away from home? Xiaopeng also nodded seriously. Uncle Ji, don't worry, I will definitely take good care of all my brothers. Fortunately, all the people who came out this time were men. If there were women, he really didn't know what to do. Okay, it's getting late, don't delay them, otherwise they will have to sleep in the mountains and forests again. The village chief walked out at this time. Said to a group of people saying goodbye. Once you hear what the village chief says, no matter how reluctant you are, you should give up. Let's go, son, you have to be careful outside. If you don't get along well, go back to the village. We will starve to death in the village. Parents are reluctant to let their children suffer and suffer. Don't worry, Mom and Dad, we will definitely come back with success. Every word of assurance has dampened everyone's strictness. Your parents don't ask you to do well, as long as you are safe. Xiaopeng sat on Dabai and left the village with everyone. Going faster and faster, walking faster and faster, Xiaopeng understands their thoughts. Afraid of walking too slowly, I can't live without it? Would they be willing to leave their families? No, they won't give it up either. Yuemu has been following Xiaopeng closely, because Xiaopeng's body is not fully recovered yet, and he is afraid that he will be injured again while running all the way. Brother Yuemu, I'm fine, don't worry. Looking at the nervous Yuemu, Xiaopeng gave him a smile and said, well, let's go. The village chief said it will take 3 or 2 days to walk from here to the outside. We have to walk faster. But how do they know the way? I took the wrong road on the first day. In the end, Xiaopeng had to let Dabai lead the way. Because he was hunched over, Dabai's pace slowed down. Fortunately, no one had any objections. While walking, I asked Xiaopeng to tell me some new things outside. Xiaopeng didn't hide anything and spoke to them one by one. They are both boys, and we became familiar with them after getting along for a while. In the village, after the children left the meeting, the village suddenly became quiet, which made everyone very uncomfortable. This village has almost only the population of the 2 teams of Hejia village, but most of the people here are relatives. Looking at the smoke-filled village, the village chief sighed, I hope we can have a good start. They also want to be closer to the city if possible. The 3 elders of the Chong family, who had the same idea as the village chief, also began to prepare. Have an intuition that they should leave the village this time. It's not like they had never left the village before, but they were all frightened back by the chaos outside. How can one not be greedy for external prosperity while living in this world? It took Xiaopeng and others 3 or 4 days to finally meet him. It was night when they came out. Xiaopeng saw the light and smiled. Luckily there is light here, otherwise it would be really troublesome. I looked at my phone and saw that there was a signal. Xiaopeng was not in a hurry to call his parents. He first took Dalai to stay at a guest house in this small town. After everyone settled down, he reported to his parents that they were safe. He didn't dare to call his home phone at night, so he called his parents' mobile phone directly. Hians was still a little confused when he received the call. Why did Xiaopeng call at this hour? He looked at the time and saw that it was already past 9 o'clock. However, Xiaopeng's call finally got through, and he was still very happy. Hello, Xiaopeng, Hians called immediately as soon as he answered the phone. When Xiaopeng heard his father's voice, the injuries he had suffered these days turned into grievances. Dad, the voice choked. What's wrong? Xiaopeng, is something wrong with you? Hian stood up from his chair in shock. In the days since he came to Kyoto, he has slowly started to move around. The people above are still staring at him, but after seeing him coming into contact with Anyang was immediately warned. Is Keen brave? He is scared. No, he was discussing with Brother Ans in the village about the suppression from above. Unexpectedly, I received a call from Xiaopeng. Hians was worried about Anyang these days, so he came to live here directly. Mei Shui didn't come with her, she stayed at home with her grandma. The village has become a mess now, and it is really not suitable for grandma to live here. Dad, I'm fine, I just miss you. Xiaopeng knew that he was a little out of control, and immediately laughed. Dad, don't worry, I'll save you now. Xiaopeng didn't hide anything and directly told his father about the incident in Worm Valley. Hians listened carefully and did not dare to miss a word. Hians felt anxious when he learned that Xiaopeng was still injured. Don't worry, your Uncle Qian happens to be in your province, so I'll ask your Uncle Qian to pick you up now. It's safer for you to go to your Uncle Qian's hotel. Of course Hians felt sorry for his son. It just so happened that Qian Xiang went to your province a few days ago. This time he and Anyang were working on a base together, and it was very boring to congratulate Ans. The He family is in this situation now. If he is willing to participate, just come in. He doesn't have any interest in it anyway. Brothers belong to the public, and private affairs belong to the private sector. One yard owned by a yard. Anyang was watched by his superiors because of Hian's arrival. He couldn't leave, so he had to ask Qian Xiang to come over. Fortunately, Qian Xiang has also opened a branch here, so it is convenient to take over the base. Anyway, he still had the manpower Anyang gave him. Hang up the phone, Hians immediately called Qian Xiang and asked him to pick up Xiaopeng. After Xiaopeng hung up the phone, he went out to find Yu Mu. Ask him to call everyone together and leave soon. They don't even have ID cards when they come out, so they have to go to the government to apply for them. Let this matter be left to Qianziang. Xiaopeng does not know these things. Fortunately, Hians was thinking of Xiaopeng. After receiving the call, Qianziang immediately drove over. There were 2 cars behind his car. Everyone who came out of the village was very curious about the things in the nursing home. While I was studying, I was called over. Did something happen to Xiaopeng? He asked immediately as soon as he came in. Xiaopeng shook his head. It's okay. I just called my dad. My dad arranged for Uncle Qian to pick us up. We will stay at Uncle Qian's hotel later. It is different when you are around familiar people. Xiaopeng prefers Uncle Qian's place. Qianziang's hotel is in the capital of your province, which is a 2-hour drive away. It would take so long to go all the way, so the 11 people waited in a room for a long time. Until one's stomach growls. It was then that Xiaopeng remembered that they hadn't had dinner yet. I don't know if there are any late-night snacks in this town. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 490. Chapter 490, Uncle Qian, I feel pain. Well, let me ask the boss to see if there is any place to eat nearby. It was almost 10 o'clock, and Xiaopeng was a little unsure. If not, he would just buy instant noodles. Dabai was also brought into the house by Xiaopeng. In this modern city where everything is available, Dabai is similar to a dog, only taller. So the boss didn't say much and just said that the dog was well raised. Dabai almost grinned at the boss, but fortunately Xiaopeng suppressed it and replied that he had plenty to eat. Xiaopeng came to the boss's front desk and saw the boss watching TV there. He stepped forward and asked, "Boss, we are hungry. Is there any place to eat around here?" The boss looked away from the TV and became happy when he saw it was Xiaopeng. "Young man, this is your first time coming to our place. Our place closes after 8 o'clock in the evening. There is no food at this time. They are not wealthy here, and he can only make ends meet by opening this guest house. But he couldn't make any money, otherwise he would have left the town and gone to the city to develop. So boss, is there anything to eat here?" Xiaopeng didn't ask any more questions when he heard that there was no restaurant. He just wanted to fill up his stomach first and wait until Uncle Qian comes. Yes, instant noodles, in barrels. When the boss heard about the business, he was very excited. His purchase price for a bucket of instant noodles was only 3.5 yuan, so selling it for 5 yuan is not expensive. Calculating the number of people, Xiaopeng felt that 1 person and 2 barrels should be about the same. "That's it, boss, please bring me 2 boxes." Xiaopeng glanced at Yumu who followed him out, and handed the money to him. Exactly 100 yuan. Soon the boss brought out 2 boxes of instant noodles and asked, "What flavor do you want?" There were many more behind him. It was only after they moved out that he thought of asking them. They all eat spicy food here, so what they bring out is braised beef flavor. Xiaopeng can't eat spicy food now, so he took 1 box of non-spicy food and 1 box of spicy food. He himself took a bucket of non-spicy ones, 210 buckets, still 5 yuan short of the boss, so Xiaopeng took out another one worth 5 yuan. He forgot about himself when he bought it. After collecting the money, the boss was very happy and said, "There is a kettle for boiling water in the room. Just be careful when watching them leave." The boss did not forget to tell them. "Okay boss, we know." Xiaopeng responded politely. The instant noodles brought back to the room were a novelty for everyone. None of them had ever eaten them before. Seeing that there were so many people in the room and it was difficult to get along at once, Xiaopeng taught Yuemu first and then asked him to teach others. The room suddenly became empty. 2 boxes of instant noodles were also taken out. After filling his stomach, Xiaopeng felt a little sleepy, mainly because he was still very weak. Dabai, I'm going to take a nap. If anyone comes over, just let them in. Xiaopeng didn't intend to close the door. Looking at Xiaopeng's haggard appearance, Dabai stretched out his tongue and licked him with pity, as if to promise him. Putting on the quilt, Xiaopeng fell asleep in a short while. Qianziang watched the time passing by, and he became more and more anxious. Xiaozhang, can you go faster? Xiaopeng is so young, and they are so big-hearted that they actually let him go out alone. He rushed over as soon as he received the news. He was still some distance away, and the time spent on the road was long enough. Boss, you can't go any faster. Driving at night is inherently dangerous. He was a retired soldier from Commander Zhao, and was later assigned to Commander Zhao's younger brother, helping with some chores, and usually acting as a driver. He does not agree with driving fast. Qianziang also knew that he was doing it for his own good, but he was thinking about Xiaopeng and could not listen to his words. Then hurry up a little bit. I'm worried about Xiaopeng being alone there. There are so many people around him, and I don't know what's going on. Xiaozhang knew that his boss was anxious, but he didn't intend to drive too fast. He had to be responsible for him. Okay, he responded. There is no change in speed. By the time Qianziang arrived, it was almost midnight. He looked at the time and resented Xiaozhang. Xiaopeng is already asleep at this time, but you refuse to hurry up when I ask you to. Well, when Qianziang said this, there was no threat at all. Yes, it's my fault. Xiaozhang's attitude of admitting his mistake is called a good one. Thinking to myself, we finally arrived safely. Xiaopeng is indeed asleep, but there is not only Bimax but also Yuemu in his room. Yuemu was mainly worried that Xiaopeng would feel uncomfortable at night. After walking on the mountain road for so many days, he didn't know if the injury would be aggravated. He did not learn the art of feeling the pulse well. What he learned was medicinal herbs. There is nothing you can do. The few people who came out with them mainly grew medicinal materials, and few of them worked hard to learn medical skills. It was just that their family members knew it and had some basic knowledge. But it was impossible to check any of Xiaopeng's internal injuries. Yuemu, who was asleep, kept his head up all the time, fearing that Xiaopeng would be unhappy, and woke up as soon as he heard the sound. Also in sync with him is Dabai. The sound was made by Xiaopeng's mobile phone. Yuemu didn't know how to use this thing. He looked at Dabai stupidly. As if Dabai knew what he was thinking, he stepped forward and pressed the green button with his paw. A voice soon came from inside. Xiaopeng, Uncle Qian is here, where are you now? Qianziang's voice came from the phone. Of course Yuemu heard it, and he was a little surprised. Well, Xiaopeng is sleeping. Yuemu didn't dare to touch the phone, but he could hear the sound inside. So he said to the phone, are you Xiaopeng's uncle? If you arrive, I will come down to pick you up. After saying that, Yuemu ran out. Dabai ran out when he saw Yuemu, stuck out his tongue, jumped directly onto the bed, came to Xiaopeng, and licked his face with his tongue. Xiaopeng was licked awake by Dabai. What's wrong with Dabai? Xiaopeng asked confusedly. Dabai pointed at the mobile phone not far away with his paw. Xiaopeng stood up, picked up the phone, took a look at it, and then got up from the bed. Dabai, Uncle Qian is here. Xiaopeng was very happy. When Uncle Qian came, he didn't feel so much pressure. After all, he was still young with so many people, so he couldn't bear it. He couldn't handle it well by himself. Just as Xiaopeng was about to go out, Yuemu came over with a few people. Seeing the person behind Yuemu, Xiaopeng's eyes turned red with hopelessness. Uncle Qian. Seeing Xiaopeng like this, Qianziang felt distressed. Xiaopeng, be good, Uncle Qian is here. Uncle Qian is here. Qian Ziang crossed the moon, stepped forward to hug Xiaopeng, and patted him gently. Back. Don't be afraid, I'll leave the rest to Uncle Qian. After all, he was only 13 years old, so he was doing quite well in enduring such a big thing. Well, Uncle Qian, it hurts perhaps because he met someone familiar. Xiaopeng also became vulnerable. Let's leave right away and go to your provincial hospital. He was already here to pick them up. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 491. Chapter 491, Allocating Manpower. Xiaopeng did not refuse, everything will be subject to Uncle Qian's arrangement. Qian Ziang asked Yumu to wake the people up, and they should leave here now. Of course Yumu has no objection. They are not familiar with the place here, so everything is up to them. After leaving the room, Qian Ziang took everyone out of the town. Your province is still very prosperous. After arriving in the provincial capital, Yumu and the others were dazzled. However, it was late at night, so Qian Ziang arranged for them to stay in his hotel. Let's talk about nothing until tomorrow. Besides, it's not long until dawn, so it's better to seize the time and take a rest. The next day, Xiaopeng and others slept until after 10 o'clock in the morning. Especially Xiaopeng, who is very weak due to injuries. I feel very dizzy as soon as I start. Seeing him like this, Qian Ziang sent the person to the hospital without saying a word. I was going to send it last night, but Xiaopeng was not happy. At the hospital, Qian Ziang accompanied Xiaopeng to complete the examination and asked him to stay in the hospital for 2 days. The doctor also said that he had to be hospitalized for observation. Xiaopeng, you will stay here for 2 days, and I promise you not to tell your parents. Qian Ziang sighed. Xiaopeng is really too sensible. He is afraid that his parents will worry about him, so he is unwilling to tell his family if he is injured. Thank you, Uncle Qian, my injury is almost healed, Xiaopeng said with a flattering look. Seeing him like this, what else could Qian Ziang say? This is really distressing. Okay, have a good rest. I'll go make arrangements for your friends. They don't have ID cards. This won't work. For people like them who are hiding from the world, Qian Ziang can only go to Sun Ming's friends, thinking that there won't be any difficulty. Hearing that Uncle Qian said that he would help him arrange for brother Yumu and the others, Xiaopeng was very grateful, so he thanked him. Thank you, Uncle Qian. Let's just say thank you politely. Okay, you can have a good rest. I'll leave Xiao Zhang to you. If you have anything, you can tell Uncle Zhang. Qian Ziang is still very relieved about Xiao Zhang. Yeah, I'll be good. Xiaopeng nodded vigorously and responded seriously. Xiao Zhang was happy watching from the sidelines. This kid is really thoughtful. Okay, Mr. Qian, you can go ahead and do your work first. Don't worry, leave it to me. Xiao Zhang stood up and said. Qian Ziang patted his shoulder and said, thank you, I'll leave this kid to you. After explaining what happened here, Qian Ziang left the hospital. After going to the hotel to pick up everyone, we went to the local government of your province. Fortunately, the government takes what he said seriously. Immediately began to sort out their identities. He also asked them to describe the situation in the village and record it in the records. He also applied for ID cards and other things for them, and the busy work lasted until the afternoon. I can't get my ID card today, I have to wait for 3 to 5 days. This is the result of speeding up the process. Of course, Qian Ziang also made a safety call to Hians and the others. He did not say anything about Xiaopeng's injury. Xiaopeng had only told his father that he was injured in Worm Valley, but he didn't tell his father that he hadn't recovered yet. Hians had more and more things on his hands, and he really didn't have time to make another trip to your province, so he asked Qian Ziang to help keep an eye on it, and thanked him after he returned to Beijing. After waiting for 5 days, I got the ID cards of 10 people, and they were all very novel. Brother Qian, with this thing we can live in the city, a few bold people asked. Yes, so don't drop it. Qian Xiang looked at their innocent looks and smiled knowingly. Okay, I know something about you. My hotel is recruiting people. Which of you is interested? These people follow Xiaopeng out, so they have to arrange the people well. Having lived here for several days, they know something about it. But when it came time, they were still a little uncertain. Everyone looked at Yu Mu. Mu has always longed for the Kyoto that Xiaopeng mentioned. He wanted to take a look at Kyoto. Just one glance is enough. Everyone also lowered their heads after seeing that he didn't speak. Qian Xiang didn't blame them, thinking that he would make the same arrangements when going to Kyoto. But he didn't expect that these people would be stared at as soon as they entered Kyoto. The last person who robbed him was his biological father. Niken, if that's the case, let's set off back to Kyoto together. In this way, Qian Xiang took everyone out to Kyoto. When I returned to Kyoto, Xiaopeng was about to start school in a few days. Xiao Chen was sent back a long time ago, the kind of person who was driven back. Xiao Cheng felt aggrieved. But he decided to go again next year. As soon as Xiaopeng got home, Mei Shui noticed something was wrong with him. Immediately felt the pulse in my hand and my face dropped. You are hurt. The tone was very serious. Xiaopeng was frightened half to death by the action, and said hesitantly, No, Mom, how could I be hurt? If Mom can feel hurt, it must be a serious injury, and he was indeed seriously injured. It's just that I have recovered a lot now. You still want to lie to me? Mei Shui glared. You are very courageous. Seeing Mei Shui like this, he and Grandma became nervous. Xiaoxiu, what's wrong with Xiaopeng? How could Xiaopeng be injured? After listening to what the two of them said, Mei Shui's expression softened. It's okay, Grandma, this kid is thick-skinned, so you can't hurt him. After saying that, she didn't forget to glare at Xiaopeng. Like a quail, Xiaopeng hid directly behind his wife. Seeing him like this, everyone's hearts dropped. He didn't look like he was seriously injured. Mei Shui gave Xiaopeng a look, letting him realize it by himself, and then started to look at the people brought back by Qian Xiang. After learning that the younger sister of the Uemu family was Xiaopeng's savior, she became even more interested in him. Hearing that they wanted to find jobs in Kyoto, Mei Shui immediately asked about their strengths. Some know how to grow medicinal materials, some know the properties of medicinal materials, and a few know medical skills, but they are not very good at it. But in her mind, that was enough. So, she began to make arrangements for a few people. Since she knows medical skills, she plans to go to Uncle Zhao, because they can learn some skills there. Like a few people who understand the properties of medicine, she plans to open a herbal diet store, which will be developed by a few people. Those who know how to grow medicinal materials, just let them follow Anyang so that they can build up the medicinal materials area. Perhaps you can go to their hometown to have a look, and if possible, buy it if you can. Mei Shui's move is very big. She has not yet discussed these matters with He-Ans in a hurry, but I believe he will agree. Without saying a word, he immediately called Uncle Zhao. Uncle Zhao moved quickly and arrived at his house in half an hour. Mei Shui was not polite and said directly, Uncle Zhao, these people know medicine, do you think they should do it? As soon as Uncle Zhao sat down, Mei Shui said. Qian Xiang was confused when he saw his father coming over. When he saw the people Mei Shui pointed to, he was speechless. Originally, he wanted to ask these people to help him. You must know that it is difficult to meet people who know medicine, let alone people like them who have been dealing with medicinal materials since childhood. Catering also requires such talents. Uncle Zhao also knew something about this matter. He was very grateful to them when he heard that their village had rescued Xiaopeng. I wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. Those who have a lover will eventually get married, and those who don't have a lover will have money to spend every day. End of this chapter.